Okay. We're back. No more warning messages up on screen. The internet can totally see you now. Thanks, YouTube. All right. Sorry about that rough start. I just want to get to the drawing this piece. I said I've been away from my desk so much in the last few days with the fires and study and all kinds of stuff. It's been really Hello, Janice. Thank you for letting me know you can hear me. All right, let's get this started like I mean it. Sick of messing around. Okay, so I've put down those little bits of brown just to mark the darker patches of colouring there. Like I said at the very beginning, if any of that got caught, I will be going over that with some sienna or black because it's a very, very dark pattern that shows up on him right there. But I don't want to muddy up my yellows that are going to go next to it. I've got some very, very bright colours that are going to go next to him, and I really don't want to muddy that up. So this is the light cadmium yellow, a nice bright bubbly sort of yellow, nice lemon yellow. Just going to get that down. I'm not pressing very hard, just putting down a nice light layer because I will go backwards and forwards over this a bit. And then there's a little touch of blue just coming up over his shoulder, so I'm just going to get a little line of the phthalo blue in there. Okay. Hello Laura, hello Naomi, hello Vale Cole from New Jersey. Thank you for joining me, guys. Thank you so much for letting me know you can hear me. It's a rough start here. Now this is probably my favourite pencil, my sky blue. I find a use for it all over the place. I find it to be a really good sky reflection colour. I will post a link to the picture of this bird when this is all finished. In fact, I'm going to write that down right now that I need to do that. This one is from Pixabay, so free and available for all of you to watch, to reference yourself. I will put that in right at the very end. If I start touching the buttons now, I might just ruin the whole thing. So, now there's a little area where it's not as brightly coloured and the light is hitting his wing just there. So I'm going to go in with a lighter yellow colour, even going so far as to, I might even put the ivory in first. Just sort of off-white. I'm going to put that in there. It's just sort of where the sun is hitting right on his shoulder there. Beautiful coloured bird. I think I'm going to end up using just about every colour by the time I'm done. Lost my reference picture. There we are. And now that I've got that in place, I'm going to go back in and get that lemon yellow. I'm trying not to work these yellow colours too much into that brown because I don't want to smudge it. I'm going to try not to use my thinners. I'm going to get tempted to use them at some point, but it's going to be really, really hard to control not smudging those colours too much, because the browns into the yellow is just going to make absolute mud. Oh, Marlene, it's working for you? Excellent, thank you. So this is the dark cadmium yellow, and I'm just going to get a little bit of variation to those yellows in here, especially where that wing is sort of falling behind his back there. Okay, and now we sort of go down into this area here. It's that light cadmium yellow again. I'm just going to get the lighter colour down first and then build up to a darker colour. It's sort of a little bit shadowed in behind here, so. And then, oh, we've got some pretty blue colours that are coming up on the bottom of these feathers here. That's going to be fun to work with. Just going to get that dark cadmium yellow in there, just more of that sort of shadowing colour. I'm very, very tempted to get these shapes in really dark, but I sort of want to leave that a little bit because, you know, it's easier to go darker, but I don't want to go too dark and not be able to lift it back up. Marlene, you want to see the image that I'm working from? Absolutely. Let me see in the description here. Let's just do this now. Copy. That's in the description now, and that's the pic in the comments there. I've just put the link that I'm actually working from. I have done a very, very dodgy Photoshop job on this to make this work. Let me see, I'll show you the reference. Feel free to go over and grab that one from Pixabay yourself, so, you know, free for everyone to use. And I'll be posting the dodgy Photoshop image over on my Patreon page for any of you guys who, my patrons who might be interested. Let's go, I've lost my reference photo now. Alright, so where am I going to go from here? I'm a little bit less nervous now that I've started working. Like I said, I was really procrastinating getting to work on this because it's been a whole week since I've actually sat down at my desk. It's funny, I've been doing this constantly, colour pencil at my desk, doing some kind of art for about 5 years now. For 5 years I've been constantly doing something at my desk, and I still sit down every single time and think that today is going to be the day that I forgot how to do it. It's a strange thing, the brain. Okay, so just using that walnut pencil that I know won't muddy up my yellows too much to get that darker pattern in. What's going on near his neck here? There's lots of cool stuff going on here. I might get in a couple of smaller feathers. There we go. I'll neaten those up as the time comes. A lot of the times when I'm working, I like to get my darks down first. I like to get, you know, the really, really, really darkest parts down, especially when it comes to, like, you know, eyes and the details. I'll usually get that black line in first. So it is working a little differently than I normally would to get this brown down instead. It's not as dark as I want to go, which could mean that I have to make some adjustments later on. When I actually put down those very, very dark colours, I might have to adjust the colours around it to make up for it. But we'll see how we go. I just really don't want to make a whole bunch of yucky. Oh, that's all right, Marlene. I will hopefully have this one up soon. I won't be working for too long today. I am a little kerfuffled. I'm a little kerfuffled, so it probably won't take me too long to get tired. But I hope you enjoy seeing the full video, and this one will be a full time-lapse video when the time comes to YouTube. Okay. It's very, very easy to just start assuming I know what's going on because I've got these lines down. I don't want to start not looking at my reference photo because I will start making mistakes, and I'll start getting the angle of those spots wrong. So I really do need to make sure that I turn around quite often and really look at what I'm doing, because assumptions just never end well. Oh, Marlene, I am full of expressions that I... Yeah. I sometimes worry that some of the extra Aussie slang is going to pop out and nobody's going to know what on earth I'm talking about. Okay. I might just go down this side here. I've given myself a lot more lines than I normally would. I don't know, if you have a look at most of the drawings that I do, I generally don't draw in all of the feathers before I start. I kind of like to put those in as I go. I'll draw in the landmarks and the basic shape of the thing that I'm drawing, but I generally won't put in every single sort of line and feather. But because this pattern is so overwhelming to the eyes, like, I'll bring it back up just so you can see what I'm talking about. Really did take my time to get this really drawn up with a lot of detail, a lot more than usual. Now, like I said before, this whole before I got started, that really, really rough start there, I see these guys a lot around home, but there's generally only one of them, and they're so fast. They're so fast. By the time I pull out the camera, they're gone. So I've chosen this drawing. I've chosen this picture because it just happened to randomly pop up while I was looking for something else on Pixabay. And it was just like one of those things where, like, bang, I have to draw that one. Absolutely have to draw that one. It was really exciting. Okay. Where's this line here? So we've got a line of feathers about here that are all facing sort of that way, and then as I get into this area here, they sort of start going down more this way. I've really got to take that into account. Actually, I might just I might just do these ones here on the very edge of where it changes direction, so that I know I've got my lines in place. I'm only pressing really, really lightly here, guys. I'm only putting down just the barest layer. This is more of a map than getting much work actually done. Oh, it's so hot in this room. Oh, sorry guys. My fan isn't working at the moment, and if it was, it makes a horrible sound. So, looking forward to another stuffy summer. Okay. These ones don't have a lot of that black showing. This is where it starts to change direction. What about this one here? Once I get all of these into place and I've kind of got these mapped out for me, it'll be a lot easier going forward. Okay, so in the background you can quite possibly hear Woody. That's my sulphur-crested cockatoo. If you guys haven't heard of him, he's a naughty bugger. You can see a picture of him. I've actually drawn him before on my Hello Mate drawing. But if he doesn't get attention and I'm in here being quiet, he's going to yell out at me. So I've put him outside. But he's kind of inevitably going to start talking to the wild cockatoos too. So he's just kind of the background sound of my studio. I do apologise. Oh, I've gone a bit heavy on that one, a bit pointy. Let me see, I might knock that back just a little bit. Because I've only put down a very, very light layer, I can sort of knock back that edge a little bit. Always easier to build up slowly. You know, if you make a mistake, you can take it away. If I'd ground that into the paper, it would be very much a permanent fixture. This one doesn't have a very... This is where it starts to get a bit bigger. Awesome looking birds, these ones. See the normal rosellas, like the red and blue ones, they're quite common, but seeing these little pale-faced guys is always a bit of a treat. They've got so many colours on them. Yeah, I am bushfire affected. I'm on Sunshine Coast, and oh, hello Neil, how you going? Finally got to say g'day. Yeah, like I'm saying, I am bushfire affected. I did spend my weekend evacuated, so this is why it's taken me so long to get this piece done. We're safe and in the clear now, so fingers crossed everything stays nice and calm for us now. My lucky husband is an arborist, and he's out cutting down trees that are on fire at the moment, so slightly concerning. But yeah, Not so bad for us as it is down south in New South Wales, but it's been rough. It's been a bit rough. I would have thought when we came to Queensland, where I'm in a very tropically sort of area, everything's usually very, very wet and rainforesty, and I can't imagine that I ever would have seen it burn quite like I have in the last few months. Oh my goodness, there's a delivery man at the door. Okay, he's gonna have to wait a tick. Okay, so where are we standing with this? Alright. I think that gets lots of the general pattern of that back down without getting too involved in it. I might work a little bit on this area here. Let me get that a little bit more into focus there, into the picture. There's a very, very dark area underneath his wing feather here where I don't have any of those yellows, and I might actually get that into place. Oh, excuse me. Let me go get that delivery. This is so rude. He was supposed to be quite a bit later. Hang on. Okay, gosh, that was rude. First time I've ever been offended by a delivery man coming 2 hours early, but anyway. Does my husband want to make a trip down to the Blue Mountains to chop down trees? Oh, goodness. Oh, it makes me so nervous. He's a bit of a, wild man as it is. He likes doing things that are scary, hence the reason why he's an arborist and he's up in the trees, cutting them down with chainsaws and all the heavy equipment. But scares the hell out of me. Alright, so like I was saying, I am going to work on this little tail feather piece because it's going to give me my darks, and then I'm going to be able to better judge the rest of this if I've got that very, very dark area in place. So, I'm not going to go full to black. What am I going to use? I think I'm going to use my sepia pencil because it's a really, really nice dark colour. It just gives me a little bit of room if I want to put a black in and go just that little bit darker. I don't want to start with my darkest colours. So let's get this into place. Just going to second guess myself. Take a second to really check my lines and make sure that that's lighter colour feathers. This is that dark area there. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's get this in, and I'm going to be a little bit braver with my marks here because this sort of feathered area is really quite a selection of very tightly stacked lines. So I'm going to press hard and just get them in. They don't have to be absolutely, line for line perfect. They've just got to be the right length and the right distance apart. I don't have to make sure that they're exactly to the reference photo. Let me just move this here. I'm giving myself those little lines in between where I'm going to put in some lighter colours. Up underneath his wing here is quite dark. You can see how much darker this sepia is than that walnut pencil, but this walnut is probably more the colour of these spots are going to end up being. Okay. Now, there's quite a few blues in those feathers underneath too, so I'm going to add in a little touch of my Prussian blue because I really do like this colour. I'm just going to add that to the sepia. And then I'm going to get a few highlights with that sky blue. Just sort of the edge of those feathers. And then I feel like the ultramarine pencil will do the trick. It's a nice warm sort of colour. It's the same colour I've used up underneath his chin there. Alright. I feel like I could do with just a touch more light under there, so I'm just going to use the white pencil very sparingly to sort of lift that up a bit. And now I feel like I can go really dark in here. Okay. I will no doubt revisit that area as I go forward, but that just gives me a little bit of an idea of where my darks can be. Now that I've got that into place, I'm just going to stick a little touch of black up in that very, very deepest shadow. Black's one of those colours that, I mean, a lot of artists tell you not to use it. I like it. It just doesn't work if you overuse it. You know, you lose a lot of its impact if you put it down everywhere. But I do like using black. Okay. Now, these tail feathers at the back here, I'm going to use that. Ooh, what colour am I going to use? I'm going to go in with the sepia because that's kind of closer to where I want them to be. Once again, I don't have to worry about that yellow down here, so I can go a bit darker. What's going on down the back there? Oh, that's really one feather, and it's got quite a marking down the middle of it. That's cool. There's something I really like about creating artworks like this is just the opportunity to really, really sit down and look at something. Like, I like these birds, they're pretty, but being able to just sit down and really take the moment to go, that's how that feather looks, that's how those colours work. It's really the buzz that I get out of doing this. Okay. Now, a lot of the time I don't work with a very sharp pencil. A lot of other colour pencil artists will tell you have to work with a sharp pencil. I don't usually worry about it too much unless I'm trying to get into these really, really fine detailed areas. To each their own, I suppose. Now, in the reference photo here, this area of his tail is quite lit by the sun, and if I wanted to make this like a really realistic piece and put him in a background surrounded by everything, I would have to take that into account. But because I'm doing this onto a black, just onto that white background, I really don't have to worry too much about lighting effects to make him fit in. He really is going to be a bit of a sticker on a background. It's kind of how I want this piece to look, much like my kookaburra piece that I've done, and quite a few I've done in the past. I haven't actually done one just on a white background for a while, but it does mean that I don't have to worry too much about lighting effects, which is really freeing, quite fun. So I'm going to put these darker feathers in, so not using the same colours as I've got in my reference photo. It's fun to take just that little bit of artistic license. Using that point of the pencil to get right up into those areas. Okay. Oh, I like that. I like that. Okay, that's going to look really quite nice. I'm going to go around the edges of the dark edges on this particular feather with that Prussian blue pencil again. Sort of up that. And now I am going to just check my reference photo. It's moved a little bit. Why are you doing that? Don't bounce. I am going to go with my sky blue, I think. I'm going to leave an edge on that just so I can get a really light, maybe even a white edge on that. Maybe? No. No, I won't go white. We'll see. See how the spirit moves us. I feel like I might get a nice bright blue in there. So, I'm going to grab that phthalo blue and just kind of punch up the colour on that one a bit. I'm not really going to my reference photo here. He does have darker tail feathers. They're sort of more leaning towards the blacks, but I'm just kind of exaggerating that a little bit and pushing that to be a little bit more vibrant. Oh, thanks, Angel. I'm not feeling very good at this today. It's one of those days where I am feeling rusty and not quite into it, so thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to use that sepia pencil now. Now that I've got those darks in place and I've kind of built up a little bit of interest, I'm really going to like kind of get in there and get those details in. Okay, I'm enjoying that. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit better now that I've sort of been working on this for about half an hour, I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable and a little bit less scared of working on this piece. It's funny how sort of it can take so long to get into it, and then once I'm sitting down, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I've got this. I've got this. What was I worried about? Okay. I seem to have lost my indigo pencil, which is frustrating because I use it quite a bit. It's probably the colour I'd like to use up here more than the sepia, but yeah. Trip to the art shop for me. Any excuse will do. Alright. Let's get that sky blue as a bit of a reflection colour on there. I like to use the sky blue colour anywhere you would sort of have daylight hitting. I find it to be a really nice light reflection colour. Awesome. Okay, now that I'm feeling brave, I'm going to get back to those yellows. Right. Now, I've got my light cadmium yellow, which I have started off with, and then I've got that deeper dark cadmium yellow, which I've used a little bit as a shadow colour, but I feel like that's leaning a little bit too orangey. Excuse me while I go through my... Do I have something that's a little bit more lemon toned? Not really. I've lost in the packing up everything and, you know, getting all my artwork into a box and running out the door for last weekend's evacuation fun. I've lost my colour charts. So I would usually have my colour chart here and I would go, oh yeah, that colour looks exactly like that. Don't have that today, so a little bit of a handicap. What's going on down here? Sort of starts shifting to the blues and some yellows. So let's start down that end. I'm going to get that sky blue on the edge. Naomi, I did draw in the pencil lines for this one. It took a long time. It took a long time. Most of the time I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't get all of those lines in. I usually like to just work, I'll get the basic shape of the animal down, I'll put the eye and those really major landmarks in place. God, my squeaky chair. But this time, because of all of the jumble that's going on, I really wanted to get that pattern in first. And I really did have to sit down and really take time on this one. Yeah, I like actually physically measuring as I went to get this one going. So, if you want to trace something like that, go for it. Go for it. It took me hours. Okay, so a lot of the time I'd quite happily trace this sort of thing just to save time, but in this particular case I was kind of just enjoying the process of getting it in, but it really did take a long time. Lots of trial and error. I'm using, this is the earth green pencil that I've got in here, that I'm going to sort of use to bridge these blues to the greens. Oh, and Naomi, I did draw this on a separate piece of paper first. I don't ever start drawing on my final piece of paper. This is Archer's hot press paper. It's bloody expensive. And so I'm never ever going to put just my straight drawing on this. I promise you, nothing ever comes out of my hand right the first time, and I will have to erase a lot of stuff to get it looking right in the first place. So this is a drawn piece that I've then transferred onto this final last piece of paper. So yeah, Just don't go thinking that I've done that on this, because yeah, I would absolutely make a mess. And then every time you rub something out and you get that friction on the paper, you start ruining the sheet of paper, and it's, yeah, the colour isn't going to lay down nice. So yeah, I always draw it on a separate piece of paper first before I go putting it on my final piece of paper. I'm just not that talented. Okay, what was I doing? I'm going to start working on these guys. So I've got my sky blue and I've got my earth green that I'm going to blend together on here. Feel like that's kind of not punchy enough. I want a bit more green in that. It could be just because the black isn't in there. Oh, yeah, thanks, Naomi. Like, it's one of those things that will really make a difference, because if you're trying to work on a piece of paper that's been erased on and drawn on and scribbled on, had a lot of graphite on it, had a lot of erasing done, the pencil just doesn't stick. It just doesn't stick as well. And you're kind of fighting an uphill battle then. I want a bit more punch to that green. What am I going to do there? Oh, I wish I had my colour chart. Light phthalo green, that's a colour, isn't it? Let's have a look, see. I'm just going to put this on a scrap piece of paper. Yeah. Yeah, alright. I'll sharpen that one a bit because I want to get into those finer details. I love my little sharpener. This is a Faber-Castell little double-ended sharpener, and it's got a thing for a colour pencil and it's got a thing for a normal pencil. I'm assuming they mean graphite. So it's just got two different shaped tips on it. These things are so good, and when I buy them they're so razor sharp, but this one's getting a little dull and starting to break my pencils. So once again, a trip to the art shop is in order. Nuts. Oh, I'll have to go to the art shop. What a shame. Okay, that is getting a little bit more like the colour that I want. I might get a little touch. G'day, DJ. I'm glad you made it. This is only the second one I've done, so it's good to see you here. Alright, that was the cream coloured pencil that I've put on the edge there. I don't know if I entirely love it, but now I'm going to put that sepia pencil into place and I'll see what I think of the entire colour, and then if I like it I'll go forward with the rest of them. I'm pressing a lot harder this time because I want this to be actually dark. Oh, I think that's exactly what I wanted. Let's get that shape a little bit better. Yep. Hello, Gwyneth. How you going? It's a little darker than my reference photo. It's quite a nice colour though. Feel like I want it to be a little bit more blue on the edge. So I'm going to go in with the, which one's this one? Light cobalt turquoise. Pretty colour this one, don't get to use it anywhere near often enough. Alright, I like that. He's looking good so far. I'm a little bit scared. I am a little bit scared to go forward with this one, I must admit. I know that the grevillea down in the right hand corner is going to be really tricky, and I'm a little bit scared of all this patterning in here, so I'm just working my way through it. Get that sky blue into place. Go right up onto the edge of that one. Cobalt turquoise, a little bit of that earth green, and then I'll get the sepia. So I'm me very thin on that one. I do apologise if I trail off as I speak. I do get very caught up in what I'm doing here. Getting a little bit of those blue colours up into the yellows up here. I'm hoping they're going to blend together to make a bit of a green, but there's a blue tinge to the end of a lot of these feathers as we get down to the tail end. Okay. I am heavily exaggerating my colours here. Like I said, because I'm not working with a background, I do have the ability to push things a little bit further because I don't need to make him fit in with a background. I'm not sort of limited by trying to make him realistically fit into somewhere. Great deal of freedom with that. So I really like the look of the realistic images on the white background. What's he? It's Alan Willett. He's the fella. I love looking at his work of birds, and he does a lot of them on the white background. So I absolutely love it. Yeah, DJ. They do. These are. I see a lot of these up local to my place up here on the Sunshine Coast. So yeah, I don't see very many of the normal red and blue coloured ones at all. A lot of rainbow lorikeets, and the rosellas come in this really, really awesome colour. But you don't see them in great bunches. They tend to be on their own. So, I had an eastern rosella as a pet. Wow. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty awesome bird. A lot of people up here that have birds that sort of come to their yard every day for a feed, because they know they're onto a good thing. I've just used my kneaded eraser there to pull off a bit of pencil dust that's sort of gathering on my paper here. I want to keep that nice and clean. Very tame as pets, yeah. They're just that little bit smaller, aren't they? I've got the cockatoo, and he's not tame. Used to clip his toenails. Wow. I'm trying to imagine clipping a parrot's toenails without losing a finger. Well, he must have been very tame. Hand reared? Or sort of just a very friendly bird. G'day, James. This is a piece of the Archer's hot press. 140 pound. It's pretty much my favourite at the moment for just nice colour pencil work. I like it a little bit better than the Fabriano because it's got a bit more warmth of colour to it, which, it's personal choice, isn't it? But I find that the Archer's has just like a warmer, less stark tone to it, which works out really, really quite well. I buy it in much bigger sheets than this, so I buy it in the full watercolor size sheet, and then I cut them down. Just gonna get some of these greens in. And then I feel like I'm going to go around the edge with a lighter colour there. I'm pressing a little bit harder at this point. What do I think of that? It's so late. Sorry. This is going to be forever a problem when I'm doing a live stream here. I'm here in Australia. It's 11 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm feeling fantastic. And unfortunately, all of you guys on the other side of the world are probably well past bedtime. Oh, Gwyneth! Oh! Hello! Thank you! Okay, so I've never had anybody do that one before. That's not necessary. Oh, thank you. Oh, please do not feel obliged to. Oh, thank you. Oh, you've thrown me for a loop. Oh, thank you. Do I know how to unwarp and pad a pastel matte? No. No, I don't. I did have the stuff that I got from Amazon and the thicker stuff that really, really warped. And I haven't found a way of flattening it out yet, unfortunately. If you bought it and when you received it, it was warped, I would complain and see if you can't get another one sent to you, because that's kind of not good enough. That is something worth looking into though, because it doesn't have the like it's got that plasticky back, so it's not like you could just spray it and stretch it or something. Yeah, I don't know. And it's cellulose, so you probably couldn't iron it. Like, if I get a kink in this watercolor paper, you can. This is made of cotton, so if you warp a piece of watercolor paper, you can actually iron it flat. Tip there if you ever find that problem. But yeah, pastel matte. Oh, I'd love to help you out there. If you find an answer, let me know, because I've still got those thicker boards that need to be uncurled too. I can't use them in that state. Sorry. And thank you, Gwyneth. Yeah, everything does help. It does help. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to get back to this one here. So where I am here, the greens are starting to shift more up. The feathers are mostly yellow, but they've just got a little touch of bluey green on the edges. So, you can't find your receipt. Oh no. Where did you get it from? Oh. That stuff's too expensive to waste, isn't it? Can you cut it down into smaller squares and do smaller pieces on it? Get some Amazon. Oh, bugger. You'd have a record of your transaction. Oh. Yeah. So I put a little blue tip on this feather, and then I'm just getting a little bit of the yellow here, so that there's both colours on this feather. And it's mixing together into quite a nice greeny greeny colour there. Pastel matte does eat up your colour pencil more. It really does. But it also lays down a lot faster. Like, you will chew through the pencil, but it's because you're putting more pencil down on the paper faster. Like, and so it feels like you're sharpening your pencil every 10 seconds, but you're getting the work done a lot faster because it really grabs to that paper and holds it. So there is a payoff there. You are going through more pencil, but yeah, you are also getting something of benefit. Some of the pastel matte pieces, you can go through, 3 or 4 times faster to get to completion than on a standard piece of paper, and that can be really worth it, especially if you're doing commissions. Yeah, there must be you must have an emailed receipt there somewhere. Ugh. DJ, you're in Australia, aren't you? Did you get it from the Adamstown Art Amazon? Because that's your softpencils.com, I think. I don't want to. I think it's softpastels.com. That's a brick and mortar store. They may be able to help you out. So with that little feather there, I've left a section down the middle where I haven't coloured it with that sepia quite as much, because there's a little detail of the sort of centre section of that feather. Just getting that detail in place. Oh, you're in Canada. Bah, yeah, bugger. Look, it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. See, we've kind of only got crappy Amazon here in Australia. It doesn't really have half the stuff, and a lot of senders aren't actually able to send to Australia because of taxation and blah blah blah. So I don't actually have that much experience dealing with Amazon. I think you guys get it much better than us down here. At the other side of the world, SAA, yeah, SAA, yeah, I've gone through them. I haven't actually had a problem with their stuff though, so. So I'm sort of going into autopilot here. So I do apologise if I'm not explaining what I'm doing. I'm just sort of getting those lighter colours down first and then sort of building up each one to the dark. It's always a nice sort of place when you're sitting down to do an artwork and it suddenly just clicks and you can relax. You get into a little bit of a pattern. That's where it gets really nice. And as I said, we've had a pretty stressful last couple of weeks, so really nice to just get that little bit of chill. And if anybody else watching any time in the future has an idea on how to straighten out some pastel matte, please let me know. I'd love to test it out and see if we can work on that one. Surely it can be done, but okay. Starting to come together. I was planning on taking a long time to do this piece. Not this long though. Heating it up might work. It's kind of got that more plasticky sort of thing going on. Have to be really careful. I do have some test sheets though. Not going to use them. You know what? I might make that a bit of a project for the weekend. I'm not going to do anything else with them. I may as well just give it a try and see if I can find a way of flattening it out. Maybe just holding it down with some pressure over time will help. Won't know until I try. Let's give it a go. Waste not, what not, hey? I'm going to do a little experiment. Try and get your money back first. Like, I'm going to give mine a go because I've long and truly lost the money on that one. I'm just going over this back area here with the Naples yellow just to separate that wing area a little bit more from his main body. It's sort of coming together now that I'm getting these darker shapes into place. I'm starting to feel a lot better about how this is going to go. And of course my neighbours are doing some kind of building in their yard. So if you can hear the compactor, first chance I get to live stream in forever and the neighbours want to build. I really want to do more of these live streams because I really do enjoy it. I've just been so busy lately. I've been doing a nursing course, doing a little career change, which I've been really loving. I feel a little bit bad for doing things that aren't art. I kind of feel like it's most of the time, and I think a lot to do with social media, there's sort of this idea that the only way to be a successful artist is to make it your entire purpose for being, you know, like live it, breathe it, do nothing but art, make your money off art. And I kind of don't want to do that. I find that it's when I'm in the car driving to work and doing things that, you know, outside my little bubble that spark ideas. I think if I sat inside the house all day, living in my own little artistic bubble, then my work would get very, very boring very quickly. But it does seem to go against the way that people seem to treat being a legitimate artist. I hate that. I hate that. Too many people feeling like you have to be running some kind of empire to be legitimate. I hate that idea. Sorry, I'm rambling. Now what I'm doing here, I'm looking at my my stream here, and I'm just sort of getting a little bit of an idea for how this is going through the camera lens, because I'm looking at this in person and I'm getting one idea, but sometimes just looking at your artwork from a different source really does change what you see. It's kind of, and of course obviously a lot of you aren't videoing your work or doing stuff like that, but just getting up and taking a photo can really, 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 really help. Just see where things are going. Oh. variety. What's going on down here? So before I get up into here too much, I'm going to start working on more down here where those blues are, because once we get up into here, it's very, just very yellow, very little blue. So I'm going to get back down to this one's quite blue. Little hint of that cream on the edge. Now hang on. There is an area of feathers between his feathers just down here, so I don't want to go down into that too much. I don't want to start assuming that that's just the same sort of feathers. I'm going to just take a moment to really look at that, because that's, I nearly just assumed that that was all the same sort of feathers and went to draw them in. Going to get a little bit of that phthalo blue into there, because why not? I'm going to have to get some kind of cooling in this room if I'm going to be doing this over the summer, because ooh, she's warm in here. I've pretty much just got all of the pencils that I'm using in repetition in my hand here, so you can see I'm sort of just picking and grabbing, because I've pretty much decided the colours that I'm using in this area. I will go through and add just a few little hints of black at the very, very end, but I'm going to leave that as my finishing touch. Oh no! Oh no, we lost our sticky tape. Oh, so I'm running a very professional setup. As you can see, my camera is actually sticky taped to the tripod. Look, yeah, studying and working and doing everything at once is incredibly tiring, but to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way. I get bored too easily. Television's rubbish. Let me just add another layer of sticky tape to that so you guys don't go for another little trip around the world there. Alright, let's get you all... Sorry about that. Any illusions of professionalism are properly shattered. Whoops. Okay. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Neil. I'm so glad you were able to catch up. I see you comment so often, and I see so much of your work. It's fantastic, and I'm really glad you were able to join. You too, DJ. I see your name a lot too, and thank you for supporting me so much. It does actually mean a lot. I'm just sort of picking on areas here that I'm not entirely happy with. Just layering them up a little bit more. Okay. Now I'm starting to lose the point on that sepia pencil. Like I said, I don't usually use a very sharp pencil, but I really do need it in this case to sort of get into those very, very tiny areas. Oh, no, I do appreciate it. I'm really glad the live stream is. I'm really glad to be able to actually sit down and talk to you guys. You know, social media is a wonderful thing, but it's not quite the same as being able to say hello in real time, and especially being that I'm on this other side of the world to so many people. I post something at 10 o'clock in the morning and, you know, everybody else is in bed. So there's not a lot of real-time interaction that happens. Which one's the light yellow? I certainly will continue with the live stream now. I certainly will. I really do enjoy it. It's just tricky for me to find a day where I don't have 4 million kids in the house making noise. Cockatoo isn't carrying on like a bullhead. The neighbours aren't doing the lawns or building something. Life gets too much in way of the fun. It's no good. I don't know if you can see there that I am getting variation in these darker spots. I'm not just putting like big black spots. There's darker areas, there's lighter areas. I'm fading out that sepia a bit, and I'm leaving that area in the middle just to give it some variation. It's turning up rather nicely on camera, I must say, actually. A little bit easier to see on the camera than it is by my eye. There you go. Oh, wow. I'm sitting back and I'm really liking the way this one looks. They're such pretty birds. It's not going to be hard to make him look good. Okay, so where we get into this area, sort of more, those two have a bit of blue on them, and then the rest, there's a little bit of blue there, a little bit of blue there, and the rest are mostly yellows. Awesome. Which is very cool because I'm obviously not going to get to it today, but as I get down into this lower area, there's lots and lots of blues and teals and almost purples. I think he's going to be a very interesting bird to look at. I might just, as I'm looking at this now, just map out where those blues are going to be. So I don't get lost later on. There's a little bit of blue there, but it's mostly in this area here. What kind of cockatoo? He is a sulphur-crested cockatoo. Big fella. I inherited him from my mother when she passed. So he's about 40 years old. Not the tamest bird on the face of the planet. He likes me, and he likes my eldest daughter, and that's about it. But he's getting better. He's getting better. And he's a cheeky boy. And I love him, even if he does bite me. if anybody ever does think that you should get a cockatoo, I would highly suggest you don't. I have him because he was raised in a cage, and I really hate that. He can't fly because he was caged for so long. And when I see him with the native cockatoos and the big wild boys, he comes out and he talks to them a lot. It breaks my heart. They shouldn't be locked in cages, but 40 years ago, people had very different ideas of, you know, how we should look after things like that. And he was bought from a garden centre in a very small cage, and he's never had the strength to sort of fly after that. He just didn't develop those muscles. It really makes me sad. But he sits in our sorry, forgotten the word for kitchen, and he spends a lot of time with us, even though he doesn't like my husband. He does a lot of hissing and carrying on at him. They sit there and listen to music together. And yeah, watching a cockatoo listen to guitar music, he loves it. He loves it. You know, full feathers out. Oh. So I can't give him flight, but I can give him music, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, definitely not a bird that should be caged. Oops, sort of gone against that. Let's go that way. Lost my direction there for a second. Oops. Okay, so I do have to be a little careful here, because that if I put down that sepia pencil too quickly, my yellow pencil is going to pick it up and smudge it into places I don't want it to be. So that's why I've got that very light layer of walnut down first, and I'm trying to make sure that I only put down that sepia very sort of last layer. But I have just accidentally put down that yellow first, and then I'll put down the sepia first and then put on that yellow, and it's smudged the sepia all over the place. Now, I will be able to fix, I'm not going to touch it now, but I will be able to fix that because I've got a couple of layers of pencil down. I'll be able to get a little touch of my odorless mineral spirits, and on a much smaller brush than I can find now, I will be able to lift off that darker layer, but I don't think I can find one of my brushes, and I don't want to try with the, yep, hang on, no, let's live on the wild side. I've got a dagger brush here. Let's give it a go, just for the sake of demonstration. If you ever get a chance, oh my goodness, I will link this one on Amazon. This is if you're a colour pencil artist and you don't have one of these, oh my goodness, and you use odorless mineral spirits. I've got here, I don't want to get the spirits on the paper, but this is a acetone holding bottle. It's for nail art. And I've got my odorless mineral spirits in there, and that does not evaporate from this container. It's designed for acetone, which evaporates really quickly, and I am able to fill this with my odorless mineral spirits. It absolutely does not evaporate. All I have to do is sort of press down on this. The odorless mineral spirits come to the surface. I can go dop, 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 just dip my brush in it, and any of the excess goes straight back down into the reservoir. I use so much less odorless mineral spirits now that I have one of these containers. I will link it on Amazon. They're like cheap as chips, but a wonderful, wonderful little contraption. Highly recommend. Okay. Let's see if no, the tip of that brush just isn't quite sturdy enough. I need something with a little bit more oomph. Oh, it's alright, it was worth a shot. But yeah, I will be able to lift off any of those. Yeah, they're so cheap. I'm talking about $2 or something like that. It's a worthy investment. Getting hungry. I really want to finish this area before signing off for the day. Okay, this is the area that it starts to go more that way. Yeah, they evaporate so quickly. The odorless mineral spirits just straight up into the air. And it doesn't seem to matter what kind of container you use. Like this is, let me see if I can find it. This is the container I was using. So it's a sealed container, and it's got like a rubber seal on it, but even with the seal and everything like that, I'd pour out a little bit and it would be evaporated by the next time I went to use it. This one, honestly, I filled that once in 6 months. It just, huge difference. Huge difference. Yeah, I found that this doesn't, contaminating it was something that I was worried about, because you sort of stick your coloured brush in there and you can see there is a bit of pigment built up along there, especially some blues. But I thought maybe the pigment would drop back down into the container, but I'm not finding that happen. It's been fantastic. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. So these are the ones that go back that way. Just trying to get some variation in the colour there so it's not all one big blob of brown. Sorry, probably looking at the back of my head there. Now these are mostly yellow, so I don't have to worry too much about this area. I'm just going to get a light layer of that yellow down. This is the light chrome yellow. I might go for the light cadmium yellow. It's just that little bit more lemony. Yeah, let's get that one down. Now I did do a video not long ago about choosing colours and how wrong you can be. Now I was just using a colour that was completely different than a lot of the colours that I've got down, and it didn't actually make that much of a difference. Totally the wrong colour. So I hope that demonstrates you don't have to stress too much about colour choice, because I was just able to go over the top with that and shift that a little bit to more towards the lemon yellows, and it's worked beautifully. Okay, what goes on here? This is where we start getting into some completely different tones. So I'm just going to put a little line down here. I'm just using my pencil on the side there so I don't mark my paper too heavily. That's just a little reference line for me for later. This area gets quite blue, that area turns quite aqua. That's kind of the edge of that, yep. I'm always making little reference marks like that. Just gives me a good idea of where I'm headed, especially considering I don't usually have too many of these, too many graphite lines down. Now I'm just adding a few touches of the cadmium yellow, the darker one, dark cadmium yellow, just to sort of put some variation in the tones there so that it's not all one shade of yellow. Only pressing very lightly. Okay, what's going on here? Goes like that. That one's a bit wider. Thinner feathers. That's going that way. Awesome. Constantly checking the direction of everything so I don't start giving him a weird shape. So easy to do. It's so easy to assume you know where something is going. And I find sort of running it through with my hand or measuring or getting those angles really helps me visualize how this is actually going. It's like a nice visual way of reaffirming with myself how that's working. G'day Georgina, how are you going? Thank you for joining me. Thank you. That sounded so vague and rough. I do. Sorry. Thank you. I'm so glad all of you have been able to pop by. It's really made my morning, actually. I said at the start of this, I was really feeling quite nervous about this piece because it is quite complicated, and I was feeling very much like this one was going to beat me. But it's been really good to be able to have a chat and talk to you guys. Really, now that I'm settling into this piece, I'm starting to feel much more confident. Don't like that one. From the Gold Coast, g'day Michelle. Thank you for joining me. Bloody hot where you are too. They are beautiful colours, aren't they? I can't wait to see this one finished because, yeah, he is a magnificently coloured bird. Absolutely magnificent. This is just the top of the iceberg here. Okay, so the feathers up here are a little less defined with that centre line. So I'm just sort of variating those colours. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. We had a little technical glitch where my computer decided that computing was hard and just shut everything down on me. So, yeah. And plus I have no idea what I'm doing. So, it could well have been my fault. I'm really glad I was able to actually get this going and enjoy. Yeah, the browns work really well. I will be adding just at the very, very end when everything has come together and I've got all of my tones on my piece of paper, I'll be adding a few little bits of black through there. Do I always delete the previous stream? This is the second stream I've done. So that's how new I am to this whole procedure. I will, when I'm finished here, I will have a look to see what's happening on the whole back end of YouTube, and I'll make some choices from there. I don't think I really caught anything of use on that first stream. Just a lot of me wondering whether the audio was working. It seems that every time I set up to stream, OBS has changed all the settings on me, gone back to square one. So I'm gonna have to sit down and write down a step-by-step sort of thing for me to do, so that I know, so that next time I sit down, which hopefully will be next Friday. I'll probably do this the next time, next Friday. We'll set a date, hey? Yeah, we'll set a date. I'll do it same time next week, which was about 10 o'clock Brisbane time here in Australia. I will send out a reminder if I can figure out how to do that. No, honestly, the second time I've done this. I will keep this up because a lot of people are on the other side of the world to me and won't get a chance to join in, so which is a bit sad. Okay, so now you can probably hear Woody in the background. That call that he does is he's calling down other cockatoos. I'm not in Brisbane. Ow! I'm not in Brisbane, I'm on the Sunshine Coast. Sunshine Coast, up the north end. Oh, he's a naughty bird. So he's going to scream at this point of day until his mate comes down. Whoop. What have I done? Lost my reference photo there. I'm just going to get a little touch of phthalo blue into some of these feathers here, as this area down underneath here is going to be a really brilliant ultramarine purple, sort of starting a colouring down here. That was a really weird way to say that. So I'm just going to get a little bit more intensity up here. We do have so many amazing animals. We have so many amazing birds. I could probably make an entire career of drawing Australian birds. I love them all. It is lunchtime here in Australia. I've got us spot on 12 o'clock. So okay. Now, when I started this earlier, I've kind of used a different range of colours up in this area on his neck, so I'm just going to try and make that blend in a little bit. And I've put in a little bit more detail there. So let me just use my sepia pencil and get a little bit. Oh, 10 p.m, so I am going to be keeping you guys up. That's not too bad. 3 a.m. Okay, so you must be very dedicated. Thank you for watching. Okay. Sort of just random pencil movements there. I'm not thinking that through too much. I'm just getting the two areas to sort of meet. Because like I said at the beginning, I started doing the head last week, and then chaos, bushfires, everything happened, and I've had to put the piece aside. So this area here was being completed in a different fashion to that area there, and it kind of was showing a bit there, just the point of difference between the two. I'm being quite careful at this point. I'm just strengthening some of these yellows, but I don't want to run them into that sepia because it will smudge and start looking quite rough. Okay. Oh, I am going to have to fix that chair. All I can hear is me squeaking backwards and forwards. This is the phthalo blue, like I said, just leading down into this really deep coloured area. Deep blues and purples. It's fantastic. Can't wait to see this bird done. Oh, yeah. Oh, 3 a.m. That's, look, probably my favourite time of day. If I didn't have to work and socialise and do all of those daytime activities, I'd probably be up at 3 o'clock in the morning too. It's kind of the time of day that I always get everything. Brain lights up, time to get stuff done. Stupid rest of the world making me run to their schedule. Okay, I'm just going to sit back for a second and see from Rio de Janeiro. Oh, hello. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. What time is it there? Yeah, we're really hoping these bushfires back off really soon. It's not even so bad here. So 11 o'clock, that's not too bad. Not too bad. So this is not a bad time of day for most of you guys. If I set up, I'm thinking next week, next Friday. Oh, sorry, which is probably Thursday for some of you guys in Canada. Still Thursday. It'll be next Friday, Australian time, about 10 o'clock. I'll do this again. I'll probably be working on a different piece because I really want to get this piece done. There's going to be a few late nights in this one. I'm really just kind of going through and strengthening a few areas of colour here that I feel have applied a bit weakly to the paper. Okay. "9 p.m, that's not too bad. Not too bad. I'm just going through with this cobalt turquoise here just to get this area starting to shift into the blues of his neck there. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, yeah, indeed. Indeed. Now, I'm pretty happy with the way his back looks for the moment. Like I said, as I get closer to the end here, I absolutely will go through again with some blacks and really deepen up some of those colours, but I do want to wait until I've got everything down on the paper first, because those blacks are really going to be that sort of final punch of impact there, and I'll be better able to judge where they need to go with everything else in place. So the only black I've got on this piece at the moment is in the very centre of his eye. There's a little bit in his nose, and underneath this tail here is about the only places I've actually put black pencil. Everything else is that sepia. So there's a big difference between those two colours. I'll see if the camera will pick it up. Don't know if it will. Let's see. Yeah, not so much so. That's my sepia and that's my black sitting right next to it. And the black just really hits the eyeballs quite strongly, so it's going to be my very final touch. So what am I going to do from here? I might work on these little area of feathers just underneath his tail here, which is using very similar tealy colours to the base of these little feathers here. So what did I use for that? I'll get a nice base wash of this sky blue. And then underneath there is the shadow of these feathers. So just underneath this area is a bit darker. So I'm going to use that phthalo blue. Oh, beautiful. Noosa heads on Monday. It's the place to be. It's the place to be. Oh, you were in Nissan heads. Oh, thanks, autocorrect. Yeah, quite different. Monday. What was Monday? If you're in Noosa heads, you would have seen the fire across the on North Shore. Yeah. That's been front and centre of our lives this week. I'm not on the North Shore, thankfully, but I am still in an area that got evacuated. I don't want to make that too, hang on. I've only put those lines down quite lightly, so I'm going to just knock that back with an eraser. I got a little bit too detailed there. I don't want this area to be too detailed. I want to just get the texture in and not the full detail. So this might be a good area to use some thinners because I'm not going to be using any of those darker colours that are going to smudge. But I don't have a small enough brush here. Where did my brush go? Oh no, I'll have to go for a trip to the art shop. What a shame. I might use this ultramarine. I'm just going to get it on the side and get a few little hints of texture in there. So far, I am pretty much exclusively used my Polychromos pencils. Haven't found a need for anything else yet. I really like the Polychromos on the Arches paper for details. I like to use the softer pencils, the luminance and the when I'm being a little bit more expressive. When I'm making a piece that isn't quite as detailed. They're fast and they're fun and they're creamy and they're, you know, beautiful to use. But I find that the Faber-Castells just really work beautifully for detail. I'm just putting down a layer of white here just to lift this colour a little bit. The white Polychromos isn't going to make too much of a difference on this. Just hoping for a little bit of a shift of tone. Okay, so now I've got some texture in place. I might just individually sort of highlight a few areas so that you know that there are feathers in there. But I won't, I'm trying not to outline everything. And then up underneath this, where things are in more shadow, we can outline a bit more. Okay, I might finish just off a few more of these feathers and then I might call it for the day because I'm starting to get to that point where the brain's getting a little vague on me, and I find that what have I been going 2 hours So 2 hours is probably about the limit of time that I will work before my brain starts to go, you know what, put it down. And I'll start making silly mistakes. And it's always better to just get up and get away from the desk before those silly mistakes start to happen, because then you don't have to fix them. Got to get a complete set of polys. You know what? I bought all of my pencils one at a time. Every single time I went to the local art shop, I bought 2 or 3 pencils. And it took me a long time to build up a collection doing that, but that's how it happened. And I still don't have a full collection of luminance pencils. It's easier to get a smooth blend with the luminance pencils. And the Derwent Light Fast. They've got that really creamy thing going on. It is a little bit trickier to blend the polychromos. Polychromos. Gosh, see, silly mistakes. I'm forgetting the name of the pencils. But like in this situation, I don't necessarily want them to blend. I'm quite happy to get a little bit of variation in texture and color, and it's kind of helping me out. So yeah, I don't necessarily want everything to be super smooth. Now, if I was drawing a portrait or something where I wanted all of those tones to be, you know, beautifully soft and blended together, then I'm going to go for the luminance pencils. Or even the Prismacolors. I know a lot of people bag the Prismacolors, and I can see why, because having your pencil break on you every 10 seconds is really annoying. But they do work really well for blending, so. Okay, so this one here is that little bit deeper. So where is my Prussian blue? Yeah, let's get that Prussian blue in there. What a pretty colour. I love Prussian blue. You can see it's I go through this one a fair bit. Now these feathers down here are just that little bit pointier. So they, instead of being more round like they are up here, they sort of go down and go straight up. So I'm just going to try and take that into consideration as I do this. Maybe a little too pointed there. Can't get your hands on the single luminance pencils. I've been going through theartshop.com down in Melbourne, and I find them to be absolutely amazing to go through. It is a little bit more expensive because you are buying it online, but they do, I think it's like $10 express shipping, and I placed my order and had it the next day from Melbourne to the Sunshine Coast. And you know, flat rate $10, I can't, that's pretty good to me. So when I've got a few dollars to spend, I'll stick 4 or 5 in my cart, take the hit on the shipping, and been building up the collection that way. I haven't seen them for sale in a brick and mortar store anywhere near where I live, unfortunately. Whenever I can, I choose to go to a brick and mortar store. I much prefer to. I'm just going to knock back some of this graphite line. It's a bit dark. And because you get to see things and play with things. And like in my last video where I actually was able to talk to the lady behind the counter, and she thought I might like to try out a new product. On Amazon in singles too. Yeah. once again, Australian Amazon is a bit, but definitely worth looking at, especially if we can do a bit of a deal on the shipping. What's going on with this one? I've kind of gone that down a bit there. Hang on. I've got to get him to face the right way. Okay. So you know what, guys? I might leave this here. I can feel myself starting to get a little wobbly, and I'm starting to make little lapses in judgment, and I'm desperately in need of a cup of coffee. So, 2 hours. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. This has been really, really fun. Let's book this in for next week. I will definitely, that's it. Appointment set, nothing else is getting in the way. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's anything I can do to improve this streaming experience, because, yeah, like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. But to all of you wonderful people, thank you so much. I will see you again very, very soon. Bye, guys.